At a so-called family meeting, my parents tried to use my $750,000 inheritance to erase my brother's mountain of gambling debt. They didn't realize I'd already locked it in a trust they couldn't touch, so I just watched them crash and burn. Hey Reddit. Before we dive in, quick ask. Subscribing really helps this community thrive. It's free, fast, and makes a huge difference. Appreciate you. Now, on to the story. I'm Claire Jensen, 29, and the night I saw my own parents try to sacrifice my future to clean up Ryan's wreckage, I stopped seeing myself as the family disappointment. I wasn't the outcast, I was the one with teeth. They honestly thought I wouldn't catch on. That's what gets me. My parents sat there like royalty, wine in hand, smug smiles in place, years of favoritism thick in the air, believing I'd just fork over my inheritance without a single question. What they didn't know, I'd already outmaneuvered them, and I was done pretending to play nice. A week earlier, I got a voicemail from my dad, dry, dismissive, classic. Claire, family meeting, Sunday at 7, don't be late. No context, no warmth, just that clipped tone that always meant one thing, trouble. Ryan, my golden boy brother, had been circling the drain for years, addicted to gambling, drowning in liquor, wrecking every car he drove, fired from his job, neck-deep in debt, and owing favors to guys with names straight out of a crime novel. And through it all, still the favorite. Meanwhile, I was the selfish one, the one who moved out, built her own life, and didn't call every time she had a bad day. Then came Grandma's passing, the only person in the family who saw me, who loved me, who knew what I was worth. She left me everything. Not a dime to Ryan, not a cent to my parents. $750,000, a fully paid-off house, long-term investments, all mine. She'd always told me I was the only one with real integrity, and her will proved it. Of course, my family lost it. My parents tried to contest it. Ryan had a complete meltdown, but Grandma had prepared well, airtight will, top-tier lawyer. There was no undoing it. Still, I knew them. They weren't going to give up. They'd wait until I was vulnerable, then try to pounce. So I moved first. Before the meeting, I transferred every liquid asset into an irrevocable trust. No loopholes, no back doors. If I died, it went to charity before it ever touched their hands. And guess who I made trustee? Dana, my best friend, my ride or die, and someone who despises my family with Olympic gold intensity. She'd sooner set it on fire than let them have it. By Sunday, I was locked, loaded, and legally armored. I showed up wearing black, funeral black, because in my mind, this was the burial of whatever family bond we had left. Ryan opened the door, glassy-eyed, smelling like a distillery. He smiled like he thought this was still his show. "Claire," he mumbled, "glad you could make it." I didn't respond, just walked right in. Mom and Dad sat at the dining table, serious as judges. Dad motioned toward an empty chair. I stayed standing. My mom went right in for the kill. "Claire, your father and I have been talking. There's something very important we need to discuss about your inheritance." Her voice dripped with sugar, but I knew better. That wasn't kindness. That was manipulation, gift-wrapped in fake concern. That same syrupy voice she used years ago, when she tried to guilt-trip Grandma into selling her home and giving the money to Ryan for a business venture that turned out to be a seedy poker den above a rundown bar. Then Dad stepped in, trying to look serious. "Ryan's in a bad place, really bad. He owes some dangerous people a lot of money, and we need to act fast if we want to keep him safe." I said nothing. They rushed to fill the silence. "Your inheritance, it's just sitting there," Mom added. "This would fix everything. You'd still have the house, and Ryan could finally turn things around." I raised an eyebrow. "How much are we talking?" Relief washed over their faces. They thought I was folding. "Roughly 600 grand, Dad said. Maybe a bit more once interest is factored in." "So, basically all of it." Mom chuckled awkwardly. "Don't be dramatic. Claire, you'd still have the house. You don't need that much money. Ryan, on the other hand." I glanced over at him. He was picking at his nails like he had someplace else to be. "And what happens after he blows through this, too?" I asked. They had no answer. I stepped back. You know what's wild? I knew you'd pull something like this. That's why I already moved everything into a trust. It's secure, legal, untouchable. Ryan sat up, stunned. You did what? I protected Grandma's gift. I told him. She didn't leave it to you for a reason. She knew exactly who you are. Dad jumped up, face burning. You selfish little. No, I interrupted. I'm not doing this anymore. I don't owe you anything. I'm done watching you all coddle Ryan while treating me like your backup bank account. Mom's voice trembled. Claire, please, he's your brother. Then maybe you should have raised him like one. I turned and walked out. Behind me, silence shattered like glass. So did whatever illusion of loyalty they thought still existed. Back home, I opened a bottle of wine, sat outside, and laughed until my sides hurt. For the first time, I didn't feel like the black sheep. I was the thundercloud they never saw coming, and they were standing in the rain. I figured that would be the end of it, that they'd finally realize they had no power over me and retreat. I was wrong. The next morning, I woke to 43 missed calls, Dad, Mom, even Ryan, who only contacted me when he needed money or bail. By noon, my inbox was flooded with subject lines like, "We're disappointed in you. This isn't what Grandma would have wanted. Do what's right. Family means everything." They tried every emotional trick they had: guilt, shame, manipulation. But that version of me, the quiet one, the people pleaser, she was buried with Grandma. I ignored them for 48 hours. Then something new arrived, a certified letter with my father's unmistakable handwriting. Inside was a formal request, asking me to transfer $600,000 from the trust to preserve the Jensen family's financial legacy. They even bolded the account number at the bottom, as if making it easier would make it more convincing. I actually laughed out loud, nearly spilled soup on the letter. But the final page stopped me cold. A legal petition. They were trying to have me declared mentally unfit to manage my own money. Apparently, their master plan was to have the court name them as temporary trustees, giving them direct access to my inheritance. In other words, they were plotting to rob me using legal paperwork and a straight face. That night, I called Dana, my best friend and the person I'd entrusted to oversee the account. She picked up, voice already laced with amusement. Let me guess, the scavengers are circling? You don't even know the half of it. I sighed. Time to go full scorched earth, she said. I smiled. Exactly what I was thinking. What they didn't know was that while they were busy drawing up fake concern, I'd been building a case. Every call, every text, every passive-aggressive email, archived. The threats, the guilt trips, the letter dripping with entitlement, saved, categorized. And the cherry on top? Grandma's old lawyer, Mr. Roland, had since retired. But when I called, he didn't hesitate. He'd always treated me like family, the kind you choose. When I sent him the full folder, his reply was swift. Let's shut this down. Within 72 hours, a cease and desist landed in my parents' mailbox, citing attempted financial manipulation, emotional harassment, probable intent to defraud. But I wasn't done. I wanted them to feel it. So I invited them to the house Grandma left me, the one they used to mock as outdated and beneath our image. I told them I had an update on the trust. Just saying the word was enough to reel them in. They showed up 20 minutes early, dressed like they were coming to collect something. I greeted them with fresh coffee. They wore smug expressions, expecting surrender. Mom hugged me with stiff arms and a plastic smile. We're so happy you've come to your senses, she chirped. I smiled sweetly. Oh, I've come to clarity. I motioned toward the velvet couch Grandma used to nap on, the one they hated. Ryan paced behind them, twitchy and agitated. He looked hollow. Even the entitlement in his eyes had dulled. Then, I placed the thick envelope on the table. That's a legal cease and desist, I said calmly. If you contact me again about the trust, my inheritance, or Ryan's mess, I will take legal action. Criminal charges are very much on the table. Mom's jaw actually dropped. Dad flushed crimson. Ryan blinked like he'd just been slapped. You can't be serious, Dad growled. I tilted my head. Dead serious, and I'm not done. I also filed a formal counterpetition. If you ever try to claim I'm mentally unfit again, I'll take your voicemails, every cruel, condescending one, and play them for the court, including the one where you called me a cold-hearted b*** h and said Grandma made a mistake leaving it to me. Ryan lurched to his feet. You're seriously going to let me get hurt out there? You think you're better than us? I inhaled slowly. No, Ryan, I know I am. Because I took responsibility. I didn't ruin every chance I had. I didn't treat love like a bank transaction. I didn't turn every person who ever cared into collateral damage. You're not a victim. You're a sinkhole, and I'm done throwing anything into it. Dad stood up next, voice hard. We're your parents. You owe us. I met his gaze. No, I already paid. Years of silence. Years of biting my tongue through your favoritism and gaslighting. Years of pretending your approval was worth sacrificing my peace. Payment complete. And now, I'm free. I walked to the front door and pulled it open. You're no longer welcome here. Not in this house. Not in my life. Not even in my voicemail. They sat frozen, so I dropped the final blow. Grandma knew exactly who you were. That's why she left everything to me. Then I shut the door, with intention. Behind it, chaos erupted. Ryan kicked the porch step. Dad unleashed a string of curses. Mom cried like she was at a funeral, because in a way, she was. Meanwhile, I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of wine, and turned up the volume on my playlist. I wasn't the black sheep. I was the wind. And no matter how hard they clawed at the air, they would never get a grip on anything that wasn't theirs. They came for my future with greed in their hearts and hands outstretched. But they left with nothing but broken pride, bitter silence, and the sound of a door that will never open for them again.